Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of College Hockey Talk. On today's podcast, I welcome back a very special guest. She is heading into her sophomore year with the Penn State women's hockey team. Lyndie Lobdell, welcome to the podcast, and how's everything going?
Everything's going real well. We start playing next week, and we're really excited about that.
Yeah, how was your off season this year, and have you done it? Did you do anything interesting, whether it was hockey related or non-hockey related, during that time period?
Summer, it was mostly just like skating, working out every week, basic stuff, getting on whenever I could. And now in this preseason, we're all just, busting our butts to get in the best shape for games. Nothing crazy, just, having a good time with the team.
That's awesome to hear. And how was your training during the off season and right now? And what are you working on the most regarding your game for the upcoming season that happens next week, obviously?
Yeah, so over the summer, I wanted to focus on my explosiveness, the most explosiveness and speed. And then when we got here, it was just continued. And, we're ramping up. It was like 4 weeks of training. So it was on the ice, obviously getting stuff done, systems and whatnot and conditioning. We've been doing a lot of that. And then we really, we really love the bikes. We do bikes a lot, which is not my favorite thing in the world, but we got to do it to get in good shape. So, yeah.
Do you still have to wear the mask when you run on those bikes, or not anymore for this year?
We're supposed to wear them inside whenever we're not, working out.
Yeah, because I know some guys, they were wearing the mask while doing the bike stuff, and it looks so painful to see them doing all those like cardiac drills with the bike with the mask on. It seems so painful. So I don't know if you still had to do that this year or not.
Yeah, it's encouraged, but sometimes, I mean, when you're on the bike and you're going for so long, but usually we do work out unless we're like dying.
hmm Yeah, totally. Now, is that one area of your game you're hoping to improve on the most, just your explosiveness, or is there some part of your other game that you're looking to improve on? Because I remember last time on the podcast, you were telling me how you wanted to improve on your physicality, since the physicality in college hockey really stood out to you the most, and that's what you had to adjust to the most.
Um, yeah, it's still that. I think last year that changed a lot, like getting used to it and whatnot. Like now it's just more creating habits, like breaking habits from youth hockey that like they don't slide. In college hockey, you can't be doing stuff like you're not going to rush the puck as much as you do because like your team, you're playing a really bad team. There's no bad teams. Like everyone's good. You always got to bring your A game. So just continuing that and forming more and more habits that continue for like a great game.
Now, did you face any challenges at all during this off season compared to last year, preparing for the upcoming season, or were restrictions kind of more loose? And did you got to go on the ice as much as you did in normal off seasons, or was it kind of like last year where there were still some restrictions with working out and going on the ice?
I actually got to do everything more. So everything like when I was at home, had a lot more ice, a lot more time to work out. Here, it's a lot better. There's no restrictions for like how many people can be on the ice and um, like when we can do things. And we always have times if like we have an off day, if we still want to go in and work out, we can do that. So it's optional and everything. It's like voluntary, but we usually have something to do every day. So
And does that change your approach at all for this upcoming season, knowing you have more ice time, having more chances to train with your team than last year?
it just makes me want to take advantage of it because like last year we didn't get that and it was tough, but this year it just makes me want to do more.
Now, how has training gone with your team so far this year, and how does this year's freshman class look? Like, what do you expect from them?
Our freshman class looks amazing. They're great people, great players. They're fitting in perfectly. I expect a lot out of them. They're doing really awesome. And our team as a whole, our chemistry is great. Like everything's going really well. Every day we're improving, and it's really awesome to see that because last year was tough, but we got through it. But this year it's just like exceptional.
Yeah, and it seemed like your team didn't lose that many players. Does that help for this year, knowing you pretty much know most of your teammates and have that chemistry already set in?
Yeah, definitely. Since we only lost Jess and Jenna, which still are big losses, we love those girls, but it definitely helps. with everyone's like not staying and everything, and it's just it helps.
Now, I want to transition and talk about last year for a little bit. So, your team did not make the national tournament. In your opinion, do you think your team should have made it to that tournament? And what was your overall thoughts on that situation?
Absolutely, I think we should have made it, but at the same time, you gotta control the controllables, and we didn't win our conference, so we didn't control what we could to get into the tournament. So there's two ways to go about it. Like I think we could have done a lot more. Like obviously won the game, and then otherwise, the decision was weird, but it always kind of is. There's always one thing that you see, and it's like that doesn't seem so right. There was a couple things last year that didn't seem right, but we don't control that. So
Yeah, were you shocked when you found out your team didn't make it? Because from my perspective, I was very surprised because your team was one of the most consistent teams throughout the regular season in college hockey and consistently ranked as well. And in my opinion, I feel like that alone should make you go to a national tournament because it's hard to win so many series in a regular season, especially with all the challenges your team faced because of the pandemic.
definitely, I mean, I agree. It was definitely shocking. We're all together when we saw it, and not one person had any doubt that we were gonna make it. And then that happened, and I mean, obviously, there's chance. So we all weren't like we're definitely in, but it was a shock for sure to realize that we weren't going, even though it really was in our favor initially without the win even. But I mean, what are you gonna do? Like everything happens for a reason. We're just gonna come back harder.
Now, I know there's been a lot of discussion about expanding the tournament. Do you think the tournament should be expanded from 8 to 10 teams?
I haven't put any thought to it really, but I don't see the point in changing something like that. I understand, um, like with something like last year, but again, like controlling the controllables, like winning your conference, doing your very best throughout, and it should come out your way. But I just think it needs to be handled better. I don't know if it necessarily needs 10 teams, but I'd have to think about that more. I actually didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, no, I think it's gonna go to 10 teams eventually just because the NEWHA is gonna have an automatic bid soon, I'm pretty sure, from at least the stuff I was reading. So I'm assuming it's gonna go to more teams. However, I kind of agree with you. I think it's so hard to make the national tournament just with 8 teams alone, and I think that makes the tournament better just because it's so hard to get in, and it makes the regular season more interesting as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, just talk about that CHA semifinal game against Syracuse, and what did you think went wrong during that game? Because it seemed like your team kind of started to score some goals towards the end of the game, but however, it was kind of a little too late at that point.
Yeah, I think because I remember, I don't know if it was the first or their first or second goal was just kind of a fluke. Like it was like a rainbow that just, she didn't see it and it went in, and we all kind of let that get to us a little too much. And you can't do that in those situations. And I think it kind of clicked at a certain point, like we got to get our stuff together right now or else we're screwed. And then we didn't figure that out soon enough.
Now, how are you going to use that loss heading into this year as motivation?
I mean, from the beginning, that has driven us to work more and more throughout the summer, throughout preseason, like to come back. We have our eyes on the prize and we know what we need to do. So we've just learned our lesson and we know how to implement the things we need to do. And that's what we're doing now.
Now, like I just said a little bit ago, your team was one of the most consistent teams in college hockey last year, always being ranked in the top 10. How did you personally handle the pressure of being a ranked team, especially since it was Penn State's first time being in that position? And what was your team's key to maintaining that consistency throughout the regular season last year as well?
Um, I don't like to see it as so much as pressure. I think I just like to see it as an accomplishment. Like we always want to win, and that comes with winning. And it's more so just the pressure of continuing that streak in general. Like we want to continue to be ranked, and that comes with continuing to win games, and that's always been our plan, and we know what we need to do. So, I mean, yeah, like there's always going to be pressure with that, but the ranking kind of just makes it almost more exciting, but not something we like need it.
Hmm.
We just know what we need to do.
Now, speaking of rankings, your team was ranked 10th for the preseason poll. I just want to get your thoughts on that. And do you think your team should have been ranked a little bit higher?
I mean, it's hard to say. I think it's great that we were ranked immediately. I think we earned it for sure. I kind of thought we were going to stay eighth just because we had such a good record last season. But I mean, what are you going to do? That's not in our power at all. So,
Now,
but
fans are going to be allowed back in the building for this year. I just got to ask, is that going to be an adjustment for yourself, having fans back in the building and not those cardboard cutouts?
it's just going to make it more exciting, I think, to have people there supporting us, especially at home. It's just like we have such a unique arena and it's like amazing and it's so nice to have people there supporting you, and I think it'll just ramp us up even more to be able to not have restriction on like family and friends that can come in and like upset that people can't watch or whatever. I think it's just, if anything, be more exciting.
Now, have you had the chance to go to some other Penn State athletic events this year with full crowds? Because I was just curious to hear your opinion on being involved with the fan aspect of being a student athlete, not just playing with the fans, which is going to obviously happen this year.
Yeah, Penn State generally holds a lot of pride in sports. Like I've been to a few soccer games, which have always pretty much been full, which is really cool. There's always people cheering, like all like the athletic teams go, and we do a lot of things within athletics to support one another. Um, and then I was at my first football game besides blue and white last year, but that was just within Penn State. But we went to the Penn State game last weekend, and it was probably one of the coolest things I've ever seen. And then this weekend we have the whiteout, which I'm so looking forward to because I've never seen anything like it. I've only seen it on video, and it's going to be pretty amazing to experience it in person.
Oh yeah, the whiteout. That's like one. I'm not really a big football guy, but that's like one football game I'd love to go see one day, and that's what a lot of people say. So that should be super fun. I'm excited for you to get that opportunity.
Yeah.
Who is Penn State playing? Are they playing Michigan? I know that's kind of the normal opponent for a whiteout game.
Yeah, we're actually playing Auburn this weekend,
Oh,
and we play Michigan. I think it's November something, like mid-November, and I think that's also a whiteout game.
oh wow. So
You're
they're having
doing
two this
too.
year.
I'm not positive, but I mean, Michigan is usually the whiteout game, so I would assume.
Yeah, and usually Penn State wins that game as well. But Michigan looks good this year from what I've been told, so who knows what could happen.
Yeah, it'll be exciting.
Now, did you go to a men's soccer game or a women's soccer game? I just asked because someone from my high school plays for the Penn State women's soccer team, so I was just curious if you went to one of those.
I haven't been to a women's game yet, but I plan to. I've
Oh,
been to
that's
the men's.
awesome. That's awesome. I was just curious about that. Now, another thing that's happening this year is you get to play out of conference games in your schedule. How excited are you for that to play new opponents? And do you think that's going to be adjustment with the style of play with different conferences?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's going to be an adjustment, but we're all just so excited to have such variety in our schedule and to play new teams because last year it was just like continuously playing five other teams and sometimes they'd get canceled and sometimes you'd have to wait, and now we're like stocked and it's so exciting. Like St. Lawrence, BC, Holy Cross, like three great weekends. I'm so ready and I'm so excited, and I think it's definitely an adjustment because every team has their own style, especially in each conference. And I think it's, if anything, it's just going to make us better and be able to adjust to new things like that because
Yeah.
we're going to have to.
Yeah. Which game are you most excited about? For myself, it's the Boston College one, just because they made the national tournament last year. I feel like that's made it a great game.
Yeah. I'm most excited for St. Lawrence because it's coming up next
Mhm.
week. Like that's all I have my eyes on right now. I like to take it game by game and not worry too much about what's happening in like the further games. I want to focus on one by one.
Have you prepared for St. Lawrence? Because obviously they were kind of in a similar situation as your team was last year, only playing like three other teams. So have you watched video on them, and what's your thoughts on your opponent for next week?
Yeah, I mean, we've done our homework and We've mostly been focusing like on ourselves, but because we got to be ready first, and then we got to adjust, and that's just gonna come with, like, it's been happening, but it's gonna come with the next week too.
Now, speaking of your conference, the CHA, one of your members, Robert Morris, won't be playing in the conference, at least for this season. I just want to ask you, what was your reaction to that news when they announced that they were going to cancel the hockey programs, and how do you think their absence will affect the CHA this year?
It was really upsetting actually, because I just feel awful for all those girls, and it's just like it's not fair, and the trouble that they must have had to go through to find somewhere else to go and just speak up on the fact that it was ridiculous. And it's definitely weird because now there's only 5 teams. Yeah, 5 teams in the CHA, and I just think that's kind of crazy. And I think it's going to end up, I think that there was talk about it being reinstated, but if not, it's going to mess up a lot because, usually that's not a thing. You don't have a conference with only 5 teams. So,
Yeah, no, I was reading somewhere where they are trying to raise enough money to bring back the program for the 2022-23 season. And I hope that happens because I know for at least for now, the CHA gets an automatic bid. But I think someone was telling me like after 3 years, if there isn't another team added to the conference, that automatic bid is lost.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
So it's tricky. It's a little scary, but I
mhm.
think it'll be figured out.
I think it will be too, especially it's 3 years is still quite some time away, and hopefully things are kind of getting back to normal. So I think the money thing should work itself out. That's just in my opinion, but I don't really have any knowledge towards the situation.
Yeah, I don't have too much either. I just hope so. I hope it
Mhm.
does work out for them.
Now, what are your goals and expectations for yourself and for your team for this year?
Um, for myself, I would say continuing to form the habits that I was forming last year. Because it's a process. You gotta really make it a part of your game, and I'm not quite there, but I'm really getting there, I think. And same thing for the rest of our team. I think it's just um, being completely team oriented and not playing selfish, which I don't think that we do. I think it just needs to be like pounded into everyone's heads. Like, we're here for each other. We're playing for each other. We're a team, and we're going to win as a team. So,
Now, what's been the biggest improvement you've made from your freshman year till now? Because I remember you telling me how it takes a lot longer for defensemen to adjust to college hockey, and it usually takes until your sophomore year until you kind of figure out what the systems are like and playing against those players on a night-to-night basis.
yeah, I think understanding the systems and them just now being so natural, uh, that was like that's the biggest difference that I've noticed, because coming in, I didn't really know anything. We kind of just did our own thing. The only systems we had before, we are very loosey goosey. We had like our power play and our penalty kill, and otherwise it was just basic, very basic stuff. And now having more systems and more ways to think about the game, it just like that's the biggest thing I've seen.
So we're now in a segment I like to call the non-hockey segment. That's where I ask you some non-hockey questions just to get to know you a little bit off the ice. Now, this non-hockey segment's a little bit different from last time. I found some random questions on the internet, so I'm curious to hear your perspective as well. And if you need some time to think about them, just ask me and I'll give you my answer. So the first question is, how do you balance both academics and hockey as a student athlete at Penn State?
I kind of make a schedule ish. I like make a plan, and then I do my best to stick to it, because sometimes you get really tired and you need to take a break. And I'm a heavy believer in study breaks, because I cannot study for like 3 hours straight. I need like a 10-minute break somewhere in there to just chill out for a second. But every day I kind of just I like to get out of my apartment. I don't really like to come back here until like it's time for dinner again. I pack my lunch, I have breakfast, whatever. But I just like to be out and about and not be sucked into just sitting down and watching TV or going on my phone, or I like to stay busy.
Hmm.
So that's how I've figured it out. And then for hockey, it's school is the priority, but hockey, any way I can balance that, doing extra stuff, I do whatever I can if I have time.
Now, how are your classes this semester? Are they a little bit more difficult than last year, or they're kind of getting easier? Are you almost done with your gen eds as well?
Almost done with my gen eds. Definitely harder. Not all of them, because some of them are still gen eds. Like I'm just getting them out of the way. But I think what's harder is like just how hard I'm gonna have to study and be on top of everything because now I have classes in person and everything's different.
Hmm. No, I have that same adjustment. I had all my classes online last year, and now doing them in person. It's been a bit of adjustment. I have my first quiz in person this Monday, so I'm a little bit worried about that because it's been like almost a year and a half when I had my last test in person.
Yeah, me too. I have an exam on Tuesday in accounting, so
Hmm.
I'm a little nervous.
Yeah, but at least you're getting those gen eds out of the way. I am myself. This math class I'm taking has been very difficult, but once I get through it, it should be all good. So, do you have a major picked at all, or you haven't decided yet?
I haven't picked it. It's going to be something in business. I just need to obviously narrow that down.
Hmm.
And then I'm thinking about minoring in biology just to because I was always interested in majoring in it initially, but I don't think I would be able to take on that workload. Just based on I don't think I have enough interest to make it my major, but I still really enjoy it and I do want to learn more about it and just everything within the medical field and all the things around it like biobehavioral health and whatnot. So I would like to make that my minor.
That's awesome. Yeah, hopefully that happens soon. So I wish you luck on that if you have the time to do it, obviously. Now,
Mhm.
next non-hockey question is, what is the most interesting thing you've seen or read this week?
Um, oh, I don't know.
Hmm. Do you want
I'm
me to
not,
go first, and then while you think of it?
yeah, yeah.
Well, unfortunately, this is kind of a sad one, but a comedian, Norm Macdonald, passed away yesterday. So I guess some of the interesting things I was seeing is just hearing his perspective on different things and just watching some old clips of him as well. He was a pretty funny guy, and I didn't know too much about him, so I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah. Man, I'm trying to think of something. The only interesting thing I can think of is that all the power went out at Penn State today because there was a big storm and it went out in all the classes and all the professors kept teaching even though the power was out. That's all I can think of right now.
Yeah, no, I hate when the power goes out. I don't know about yourself, but I can't stand it, especially last year when the power went out. Like I couldn't do any schoolwork because the internet wouldn't work. So it's probably a little bit easier now, but I'm not a huge fan of when the power goes out. That's like one of my biggest pet peeves.
Yeah, I mean, it happened while we were on the ice today. So we had to have like the backup generator lights and then they flipped on real quick, but it was kind of crazy.
Did you still get to did you still continue practice when the power was out, or was coach kind of?
Yes. It
That's
was like a 10-second thing.
mhm.
It was really quick.
Awesome. Well, at least it was only 10 seconds. So, but no, that's definitely very interesting for sure. Now, next non-hockey question is: if you had the world's attention for 30 seconds, what would you say and why?
Oh, that's a big one. I would tell everyone to worry about themselves, but be kind. And I have an emphasis on worry about yourself because people like to nitpick what everyone else is doing when it is not affecting them. If it has nothing to do with you, don't you don't need to say anything. But also just like look for kindness in your heart. You don't have to be a mean person. That's not something you should thrive on.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you on that. I don't know I would honestly don't know what I would say in 30 seconds. So I would have to think about that for a little bit.
That's all I could think of right now. I think a lot of people need to hear that. I think there's a lot of anger in the world right now.
Yeah, and I think with the pandemic going around, everyone was just locked inside their house. So I feel like that made them more angrier than normal just because you're inside nothing with nothing to do. So hopefully it kind of
Right.
settles down a little bit as the months go on.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Now, if you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be and why?
I'd have to stay in America just because I know the hockey. I was gonna say somewhere cool like Turks and Caicos or something. Um, probably Boston actually. I really 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 like Boston. I would travel there with my dad a lot with tournaments and he would work there and he'd show me all the cool stuff and I just love the area and there's a lot of hockey out there so
Hmm.
I'm just gonna
That's
keep it simple with Boston.
That's the best answer I've heard. I'm from Massachusetts. I live right near Boston, so that's probably the best answer I've heard. That's probably what I would choose, honestly. But
Yeah.
I've never visited that many places around the world, so I don't know like what else I would pick besides Boston. But yeah, I know the hockey here is great. You have the Bruins, but then there's so many other colleges around the city and around the New England area. And plus, you
Mhm.
can also travel out west and see some mountains as well, or you can go down to the Cape and see beaches as well. So I feel like it has a little thing for everybody, which is why I would choose it.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to visit Chicago. I have a friend that lives down there. It looks pretty awesome. That's like the one city I've never been to that I want to visit.
Yeah, if I didn't already, well, I don't live in Chicago. I live in the suburbs, but just being so close, it's truly such an amazing city. Like
Hmm.
nothing compares. I personally, I'm biased, but I think it's so much cooler than New York City. I think obviously New York City is super cool. I just think Chicago just has so much culture and it's beautiful.
Hmm.
It's like untouched. It's beautiful.
I was told the nightlife there is incredible. It's like one of the best top nightlife spots around America. I've never been anywhere else, but everyone says that's like one of the more underrated parts of just the whole nightlife scene in general.
Yeah, it's great. And my sister lives down there now, so I get to be down there more, obviously when I'm home, but
Hmm.
yeah, it's cool.
That's awesome. Well, a couple more non-hockey questions. First one is, if there was a movie made about your life, who would you want to play yourself and why?
Uh, maybe Drew Barrymore, because I love her.
Hmm.
She's such a goof, but she's also very serious, like she
Hmm.
can be. I don't know, I love her.
I would pick Leonardo DiCaprio just because one, we don't look anything alike, but I think it'll be super cool to tell people that Leonardo DiCaprio played me in a movie, and not many people get to say that. So that's who I would pick.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Now, last non-hockey question is, who is your favorite non-hockey athlete?
Probably Simone Biles. I feel like that might be a common answer, but I think she's overcome a lot.
Hmm.
And I think she always perseveres and she doesn't let any person's like comments, any negativity get her down. If she needs a break, she takes a break. If she wants to keep going, she keeps going.
Hmm. Yeah, no, that's a good answer. For myself, it was hard because I mostly watch hockey, but I would say Lionel Messi. I just think soccer players are super cool, and it's just to
Hmm.
hear his story coming from Argentina, going to Barcelona, and now going to Paris. I think is really cool. And then Cristiano Ronaldo as well. Just those two guys. They're some
Yeah,
of the best in the world, so that's who I would pick.
yeah.
Now back to some hockey questions. Now I just want to get your thoughts on the USA's performance in the World Championships this August. What was your whole thoughts on that? I thought it was a pretty good tournament for the most part, even though the US lost.
Oh yeah. I thought it was amazing. It was really cool. I got to see some people real close to my heart on that team. And just seeing them represent the country and do so well, I'm just really proud of all those people and the work that they put in to get to that point. And obviously it didn't work out exactly the way we wanted, but like it was amazing what they did and they worked their butts off. So
What were your thoughts on Caroline Harvey's performance? Because I know you played with her in the under 18 World Championships, but now she kind of got catapulted to the national team. I thought that was a really cool to see her play, especially since not a lot of people knew about her before the tournament.
yeah, I always thought the first time I saw her play, I was like, this girl is another breed. She is amazing. And I think she deserved everything she got, everything she has currently. And I think she played her heart out. And it's so cool to see her do that and to know her, know who she is as a person, and to know that she truly deserves that.
Now, what were your thoughts on the physicality of that tournament? Because that's something that really caught my eye. It was very physical. Do you think hitting should be allowed in women's hockey? I know College Hockey Talk had a discussion post about it, but I just want to hear your thoughts on that. The physicality that happened in that tournament.
Absolutely. We can handle it. I don't know why people don't think that we can, but it's definitely annoying because it happens. And sometimes there's sensitive refs that don't like it to happen. And I think it's kind of a joke because that's the game. Like we
Mhm.
play a very physical game, and not that it should be dirty in any way. And there's a certain extent, I don't think you need to lay someone out in the middle of the ice, but it's going to be physical no matter what. Watching that in the tournament, it was so cool. I was jealous. Like that's the kind of game I like to play.
Yeah, Abby Murphy, your former teammate from the Mission, was one of the heavy hitters from Team USA. She was laying some people out. What were your thoughts on that?
I love watching her do stuff like that. Obviously, when it's clean, but it's just like she's a strong girl, and you wouldn't guess on the ice. Like she's not super tall, but she plays like she is 7 feet tall,
Hmm.
and she will whoop your butt in any board battle, like anything. She's so strong, and it's so fun to watch her do the things she does.
It was cool for me seeing her getting those scrums like around the goal line. And then there was one play where it was like a whole huge scrum before the second period. I think it was when the second period ended, and she was just getting involved with some of the Canada's veteran players, which was really cool to see because you normally don't see that out of a first year USA player. That's her first tournament. So I thought that was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, she's confident. She's not afraid to say what's on her mind.
What's the biggest check you've ever thrown in a game?
At any point, it would be me either protecting my goalie or protecting one of my players. And I think that actually happened last year. Someone was going at one of my players that was already down, and it just automatically kind of turned something on for me to like get on them and put them on their butt immediately, at the very least. So, sometime last year that happened.
Hopefully you didn't get a penalty for that.
I think I might have, but
Oh,
so did she, so it was fine.
it's not a problem at all. You know, it's defending the goalie. I've met Josie before. She's one of the nicest people ever. So you got to defend the goalie as much as you can, especially when people are chipping away at the goal line.
Oh yeah, we have a bond.
Hmm.
I would never. I can't. You
Hmm.
don't get close to Josie.
I totally agree with you on that. Now, another question I want to ask you that's kind of non-college hockey related, but who's the most underrated player you've ever played against in college hockey from your first year so far? I feel like there's a lot of underrated players in the CHA that don't get enough recognition.
Yeah. Um, Before from my team, I thought it was always Kiara. I thought she was underrated, and then just being in on her team and seeing what she does, like, and she's gotten a lot more recognition, which I think is very well deserving. Otherwise, I think probably Lacey Eden coming in out of the blue and just seeing what she did and how much of an impact she made. I thought that was great. And I know Lacey, and I think she's a great girl too. And yeah, I mean, that's the only thing that comes to mind right now.
Yeah, no, just thinking from your team, I think Maori Uline's a great defenseman. I feel like she doesn't get enough recognition than she deserves. And then Rachel Weiss is another great forward on your team. I think she provides a lot of great offensive depth. So those are two players just from your team that come to mind.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now, what were your thoughts on the podcast since we last had you on? I apologize if I seemed nervous during the interview with yourself. I was a bit nervous just because you're one of my favorite players. But overall, I don't know if you've listened to it at all, but what are your whole thoughts on that?
I did listen to it actually. It was really cool. That was I think one of the first podcasts I've ever done. And it was just really cool to be a part of that and see all these people I know also doing it. And I think it went really great. Um, I'm glad I'm doing it again. I think it's really cool what you're doing, and it was definitely weird listening to my voice,
Hmm.
but it was cool. I liked it a lot.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Is there any guests that we should have on in the future? I feel like I've had a lot of Penn State players on before, but if there's anyone I might have missed, feel free to let me know.
Um, do you know Ella Huber on Minnesota?
Yes, I've had her on the podcast actually.
Oh, well, there you go. I was gonna say her. I would say someone with a great character, Maggie Culp. She's on LIU.
Hmm.
I don't think she's been on this before. Um, Love her to death. She works her butt off, and she's a great person, and she would be really entertaining to have on this too.
Awesome. Well, I definitely have to reach out at some point this month. It's just a bit busy with the season going around. I don't like to interrupt, but I'll definitely reach out as soon as I can. Now, I guess my last question to you is any improvements I should make on the pod, or is it kind of all good from now? I feel like there's some things I need to tweak a little bit, but if there's anything that I should do, just let me know.
I think it's great. I honestly don't have a lot of experience in this, so I wouldn't really know. But I've only done a few different ones, but I think it's really great.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate the feedback. It means a lot to me. And I just want to say thank you, Lyndie, for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate it a lot. You're a great hockey player, but you're also an even better person as well. So I just want to let you know that. I love watching you play, and I can't wait to hopefully see you play in person sometime soon. I'm planning to go down to Brown. I think it's October 23rd is when you go down there. So I'm planning to go see your team play in person when that happens. So can't wait for it. It's like a month from now. So, but thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much.